The whispered warning McCollins pushed through the glass doors of Murphy's diner, the familiar chime barely audible over the rumble of late-night traffic. Her shift had run longer than usual, keeping her until well past midnight serving coffee to insomniacs and taxi drivers grabbing quick meals between fares. The October air bit at her cheeks as she pulled her worn leather jacket tighter, tucking a strand of auburn hair behind her ear. The streets stretched before her like empty corridors, illuminated by the occasional streetlight that cast pools of yellow light on the cracked sidewalk. Emma had walked this route home countless times over the past 2 years, each step as familiar as breathing. 5 blocks north, turn right at the old pharmacy, then 3 more blocks to her small apartment above the bookstore. Tanaya felt different, though the silence seemed heavier, more deliberate, as if the city itself was holding its breath. Emma quickened her pace, her sneakers making soft sounds against the damp pavement where earlier rain had left shallow puddles that reflected the neon signs of closed shops. She was halfway down the second block when she heard them. Footsteps, not the random clicking of heels or the heavy thud of work boots, but a steady rhythm that seemed to match her own pace too perfectly. Emma slowed slightly, listening. The footsteps slowed too. She picked up speed. They followed suit. Her heart began to race as she approached the narrow alley between 2 old brick buildings. This shortcut would save her 3 blocks, but tonight, the shadows seemed deeper, more threatening. Emma hesitated at the entrance, peering into the darkness where a single flickering light provided barely enough illumination to see the other end dot behind her. The footsteps had stopped completely. Emma turned around, scanning the empty street, but saw nothing except parked cars and the distant glow of a convenience store sign. Maybe she was imagining things. Maybe the stress of double shifts and unpaid bills was finally getting to her. Entered the alley, walking quickly but trying not to run. The walls on either side seemed to close in, creating an echo chamber for every sound. Halfway through, she heard a voice, low and urgent, coming from somewhere behind her left shoulder. "Don't turn around." Emma froze, every muscle in her body tensing. The voice was male, calm but commanding, spoken just loud enough for her to hear clearly. "Keep walking straight. Don't look back. Don't run." Her mind raced through possibilities. Run anyway, scream, turn around and face whatever was behind her. But something in the tone of the voice made her hesitate. It didn't sound threatening, it sounded protective. "There's someone following you," the voice continued, still speaking in that same measured tone. "He's been watching you for weeks. I need you to trust me." Emma's breath came in short bursts, visible in the cold air. She could feel a presence behind her, close enough that she should have been able to hear breathing or footsteps. But there was only silence. "Who are you?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Someone who won't let anything happen to you. Now keep moving. When you reach the end of the alley, turn left instead of right. Walk 3 blocks to the coffee shop with the blue awning. Wait inside." Every instinct told Emma to run, to ignore the voice and race home to the safety of her locked apartment. But another part of her, a deeper intuition, recognized something genuine in those words. This person, whoever they were, knew her route. They knew she usually turned right. They had been watching too, but for different reasons. She continued walking, each step feeling like an eternity. Behind her, she heard the soft scrape of shoes on concrete, but it didn't sound like pursuit. It sounded like someone matching her pace, staying close but not threatening. As she neared the end of the alley, Emma caught a glimpse of movement in her peripheral vision. A shadow detached itself from a doorway across the street, moving in a way that made her skin crawl. The figure was too far away to make out details, but something about its posture suggested predatory intent. "He's moving," the voice said. "Now." Slightly closer to her ear. "Stay calm, turn left now." Emma obeyed, turning away from her normal route. Behind her she heard quickening footsteps, not from her mysterious protector, but from the street. The shadow figure was following, no longer trying to hide. "Walk faster," the voice instructed. "Don't run, just pick up the pace." Emma's heart hammered against her ribs as she increased her speed. The coffee shop came into view 3 blocks ahead, its blue awning exactly as described. She had passed it dozens of times but never paid attention to the color of the awning until now. Behind them the pursuing footsteps became more urgent, less careful about stealth. Emma risked a glance over her shoulder and saw a man in dark clothing moving quickly down the sidewalk, his face obscured by shadows but his intent clear. "Almost there," the protective voice said. "When you reach the door, go inside and call the police. Tell them there's been an attempted assault on Maple Street." Emma reached the coffee shop and yanked open the door, stumbling inside where warmth and light enveloped her like a embrace. The elderly owner looked up from wiping down tables, startled by her sudden entrance. "Please," Emma gasped, pulling out her phone with shaking hands. "I need to call the police." Through the window she watched two figures on the sidewalk. One was the man who had been following her, now standing under a streetlight with his hands raised as if in surrender. The other was tall, wearing a dark coat, speaking to the first man in what appeared to be a firm but controlled conversation. Emma couldn't hear the words, but she watched as the pursuing man backed away, then turned and hurried off into the night. Her protector remained for a moment longer, looking toward the coffee shop window. Even through the glass and across the distance, Emma felt the weight of his gaze, protective and reassuring. Then he too melted back into the shadows, leaving Emma alone with her racing heart and the growing realization that someone she had never met had just saved her from something terrible. As she dialed 911 with trembling fingers, she found herself staring at the empty sidewalk, wondering who her guardian angel was and whether she would ever see him again. The police arrived within minutes, but by then both men had vanished into the maze of city streets, leaving Emma with nothing but questions and the lingering memory of a voice that had spoken from the darkness to keep her safe. Shadows and secrets. The fluorescent lights in the police station buzzed overhead as Emma sat in an uncomfortable plastic chair, recounting her story for the third time. Detective Rodriguez, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes and graying hair, listened patiently while taking notes on a yellow legal pad. "So you never saw the face of either man clearly?" Detective Rodriguez asked, tapping her pen against the desk. Emma shook her head. "The one following me was too far away, and the other one stayed behind me the whole time. I only heard his voice. And this voice, you'd never heard it before." "No, never. But he knew things about me. He knew my usual route home, knew about the coffee shop." Emma wrapped her arms around herself, still feeling vulnerable despite being surrounded by police officers. Detective Rodriguez made another note. "We'll increase patrols in that area, but without more to go on, there's not much else we can do." The coffee shop owner confirmed your story, but their security camera was broken, no footage of either man. Emma left the station feeling more frustrated than relieved. The sun was rising, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and orange, but she couldn't shake the feeling that eyes were still watching her from somewhere in the growing light. At Murphy's Diner that evening, Emma found it difficult to concentrate on her tables. Every time the door chimed, she looked up expecting to see either the man who had stalked her or the mysterious voice who had saved her. Her coworker Jenna noticed her distraction during the dinner rush. "You're jumpy as a cat today," Jenna observed, balancing 3 plates on her arm. "Everything okay?" Emma considered telling her about the previous night but decided against it. "Just tired, didn't sleep well." But it was more than tiredness. Throughout her shift, Emma noticed things she had never paid attention to before. The way certain customers lingered longer than necessary. The man in the corner booth who seemed more interested in watching the staff than eating his pie. The delivery driver who kept glancing through the window even after completing his pickup. Was she being paranoid, or had she simply never noticed how exposed she was in this job? Every night, she walked home alone through streets that offered countless hiding places for anyone with bad intentions. Around 10 o'clock, Emma was refilling coffee for a regular customer when she spotted him. A man sitting in a sedan across the street, engine running, watching the diner. Even through the window and across the distance, something about his posture made her stomach clench with recognition. It was the same predatory stillness she had glimpsed the night before. Emma's hands began to shake as she poured the coffee, spilling some onto the saucer. The customer looked up with concern. "Miss, you all right?" "Fine, just clumsy tonight." Emma forced a smile and quickly moved away from the window, focus on her remaining tables, but her eyes kept drifting back to the street. The sedan was still there, a dark shape against the amber streetlights. When her shift ended at midnight, Emma lingered in the diner, helping Jenna with unnecessary cleaning tasks. "Go home already," Jenna finally said, hanging up her apron. "You've been here 14 hours. Emma peered through the window again. The sedan was gone, but that didn't make her feel safer. If anything, not knowing where he was felt worse than seeing him. She gathered her things and stepped outside, immediately scanning the street in both directions. Everything appeared normal, but Emma had learned that appearances could be deceiving. She began walking, taking a different route than usual, staying on well-lit main streets instead of cutting through side roads. 3 blocks from the diner, she heard footsteps again. This time, she didn't hesitate. Emma ducked into a 24-hour convenience store, pretending to browse the magazine rack while watching the street through the window. A man passed by, moving casually but with purpose. Medium height, dark jacket, hands in his pockets. He didn't look directly at the store, but Emma caught a glimpse of his profile. Sharp features, cold eyes, the kind of face that belonged in police sketches. Emma waited in the store for 20 minutes, buying a candy bar she didn't want and making small talk with the bored clerk. When she finally ventured outside, the street was empty except for passing cars and the distant sound of music from a late-night bar. She made it 2 more blocks before the footsteps returned, but these sounded different, lighter, more careful, keeping pace but not closing distance. Emma's heart began to race again, but this time with a different kind of anticipation. "It's me," came the familiar voice, low and reassuring. "Don't turn around." Relief flooded through Emma's body, so intense she nearly stumbled. "You're here." He came back tonight, same pattern, same intentions. "I've been watching him watch you." Emma slowed her pace slightly, wanting to prolong this strange conversation with her invisible guardian. "Who is he? What does he want?" "His name is Vincent Kane. He has a history of stalking women, but he's smart about it. Never leaves evidence, never gets caught. He studies his targets for weeks before making a move." The matter-of-fact tone sent chills down Emma's spine. "How do you know all this?" There was a pause before the voice answered. "Because I've been hunting him for 6 months." Emma stopped walking altogether, her mind reeling. "You're not just protecting me, you're after him. Keep moving," the voice said gently. "Yes, I'm after him, but that doesn't change the fact that you're in danger. He's chosen you, and he won't stop until someone stops him." Emma resumed walking, but her thoughts were spinning. "Are you a cop?" "No." "Private investigator?" "No." "Then who are you?" Another pause, longer this time. When the voice spoke again, it carried a weight of pain that made Emma's chest tighten. "Someone who learnt too late that good people can disappear when no one's watching out for them." They walked in silence for several blocks, Emma acutely aware of the presence behind her. She wanted to turn around, to see the face that belonged to this voice that had become her lifeline in the darkness, but she sensed that her protector wasn't ready for that level of connection. "What happened to her?" Emma asked quietly. The voice was so soft she almost missed it. "She was walking home from work, just like you." Emma felt tears prick her eyes, understanding flooding through her. This wasn't just about stopping Vincent Kane. This was about redemption, about saving someone when he had failed to save someone else. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Don't be sorry. Just be careful. Kane is getting bolder. He's not going to wait much longer." They had reached Emma's street, but she found herself reluctant to end this conversation. Tomorrow night she would have to walk home alone again, never knowing if her guardian would be there or if Vincent Kane would finally make his move. "Will I see you again?" she asked. "You won't see me," the voice replied, "but I'll be there." Emma climbed the stairs to her apartment, checking over her shoulder one last time. The street below was empty, but she no longer felt alone. Somewhere, in the shadows, someone was watching over her, carrying his own burden of loss while ensuring she didn't become another tragedy. As she locked her door and turned on every light in her small apartment, Emma realized that her life had become a strange dance between predator and protector, with her caught in the middle. Tomorrow the dance would continue, but tonight, she was safe. Truth in the darkness. 3 nights passed without incident, and Emma began to wonder if Vincent Kane had moved on to easier prey. The thought should have brought relief, but instead it left her feeling strangely hollow. She caught herself scanning crowds for familiar faces, listening for footsteps that never came, and missing the reassuring presence of the voice that had spoken from the shadows. On Thursday night, Emma's shift at Murphy's Diner ended early due to a broken freezer that forced them to close the kitchen. She found herself walking home at 11 instead of midnight, the streets busier with people leaving bars and late movie showings. The crowd should have made her feel safer, but Emma had learned that danger could hide among ordinary faces. She was passing the entrance to Riverside Park when she heard her name called from behind. "Emma," she turned, expecting to see a coworker or regular customer, but instead found herself facing Vincent Kane. Up close, he was smaller than she had imagined, with thinning brown hair and pale skin that looked like it rarely saw sunlight. His smile was practiced, the kind used by salesmen and politicians. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" Emma asked, though her body was already tensing for flight. "We haven't been formally introduced," Kane said, taking a step closer. "But I feel like I know you. I've been admiring you from afar." Emma's blood turned to ice. "I think you have me confused with someone else." "No confusion at all. Emma Collins. You work at Murphy's Diner, live at 247 Oak Street, apartment 3B. You walk home alone every night, usually taking Maple Street, but you've been varying your route lately. Smart girl. The casual way he recited her personal information made Emma's skin crawl. She began backing away, but Kane matched her movement, maintaining the distance between them. What do you want? Emma demanded, her voice stronger than she felt. Just to talk. You've been avoiding me, and that hurts my feelings. I've put a lot of effort into getting to know you. You've been stalking me. Kane's smile faltered slightly. Such an ugly word. I prefer to think of it as courtship, old-fashioned romance. Emma glanced around, looking for help, but the nearest people were half a block away and moving in the opposite direction. The park entrance yawned beside them, dark paths disappearing into shadows where anything could happen. I'm going home now, Emma said firmly. Don't follow me. She turned to leave, but Kane grabbed her wrist. His grip was surprisingly strong. For such a slight man, I don't think so, he said, all pretense of politeness dropping from his voice. We're going to take a walk in the park and have a real conversation. Emma tried to pull away, but Kane's fingers tightened painfully around her wrist. Panic flooded her system as he began dragging her toward the park entrance. Help, she screamed, but the sound seemed to disappear into the night air. Somebody help me. Kane backhanded her across the face, the blow sharp enough to make her ears ring. Shut up. You're only making this harder on yourself. Through her dizziness, Emma heard running footsteps approaching fast. Kane heard them too and spun around, pulling Emma against his chest as a human shield. She felt something cold and sharp press against her ribs and realized with horror that he had a knife. Let her go, Kane. The voice emerged from the darkness, beyond the streetlights. Calm and controlled despite the urgency of the situation. Emma's heart leaped with recognition and relief. A tall figure stepped into the light, and Emma finally saw the face of her protector. He was younger than she had expected, maybe early 30s, with dark hair and intense green eyes that seemed to glow in the lamplight. His jaw was set with determination, but Emma could see the careful control he was exercising to keep from rushing forward. Dante Rivera, Kane sneered. I should have known you'd turn up eventually. Still playing hero after what happened to your sister. Emma felt Dante flinch at the words, saw pain flash across his features before his expression hardened again. This isn't about Isabella, Dante said quietly. This is about you finally paying for what you've done, what I've done. Kane laughed, pressing the knife harder against Emma's ribs. I'm just a lonely man looking for companionship, but you're a stalker, following women around in the dark. Who's the real predator here? You are, Emma said through gritted teeth, and everyone's going to know it. Kane's attention snapped back to her, his grip tightening. You don't get to talk anymore. But Emma had noticed something in Dante's slight nod, a signal she somehow understood instinctively. When Kane's focus shifted to her, Dante moved. It happened faster than Emma could follow. One moment Kane was holding her, the next she was stumbling free as Dante tackled her captor to the ground. The knife went skittering across the pavement as the two men grappled. Kane was smaller but desperate, fighting with the vicious intensity of a cornered animal. He raked his fingernails across Dante's face, leaving bloody scratches, then tried to knee him in the groin. But Dante was stronger and better trained, his movements controlled and precise. Emma heard sirens in the distance, growing louder. Someone must have called the police when they heard her screaming. Kane heard them too and made one last desperate attempt to break free, throwing a wild punch that caught Dante in the temple. The blow staggered Dante long enough for Kane to scramble to his feet and run toward the park, but he only made it 20 feet before Dante tackled him again, this time driving him to the ground with enough force to knock the wind out of him by the time the police arrived. Kane was unconscious and Dante was sitting on the curb, pressing a handkerchief to the cuts on his face. Emma sat beside him, her hand resting on his shoulder, still shaking from the adrenaline. The next few hours passed in a blur of statements and paperwork. Detective Rodriguez seemed pleased to finally have Kane in custody, especially when a search of his apartment revealed detailed files on Emma and 6 other women, along with photographs taken without their knowledge. He won't be bothering anyone for a very long time, the detective assured Emma as she prepared to leave the station. Dawn was breaking as Emma and Dante emerged into the morning air. They had been strangers 12 hours ago, connected only by circumstances and shadows. Now Emma felt like she had known him forever. Isabella was your sister, Emma said as they walked slowly down the steps. Dante nodded, his face tired but peaceful. She was 17. Kane was stalking her, but we didn't realize it until it was too late. By the time we understood the danger, she was already gone. Emma stopped walking and turned to face him. That's why you've been hunting him. I couldn't save her, Dante said simply, but I could make sure he never hurt anyone else. Emma reached up and gently touched the bandage covering the scratches on his cheek. You saved me. We saved each other, Dante replied, covering her hand with his dot. They stood there in the growing light, two people who had found each other in the darkness and emerged into something brighter. Emma realized that while Vincent Kane had stolen her sense of safety, he had also led her to Dante, to this moment where the shadows finally gave way to dawn. So what happens now? Emma asked. Dante smiled, the first genuine smile she had seen from him. Now we walk home together. In the daylight, where everyone can see us. Emma laughed, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. I'd like that. As they walked down the streets side by side, Emma noticed that Dante's shadow fell perfectly beside hers, no longer following from behind but walking in step with her toward whatever came next. The darkness that had brought them together was finally behind them, replaced by the promise of a new day and the certainty that neither of them would have to face it alone. The city around them was waking up, filled with ordinary people going about their ordinary lives, unaware that two extraordinary people had just found each other in the most unlikely way. Emma squeezed Dante's hand and smiled, knowing that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin in the darkest places and end in the light.